Welcome back to the show. My name is Evan, along with Michael J. Babcock. What's up? Renee Montgomery.
Hello there.
If Jeff Garcia was critical of Cam Newton's outfits when the Patriots were losing,
he's going to be mad now.
He's going to lose his mind after seeing this. After the Patriots shocked the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football, Cam Newton played pretty well. He hit the podium for his post-game press conference wearing an outfit that has a lot of people going, wow, that's unique. That's a unique look, Cameron Newton. Oh, he's wearing a fez, along with appears to be like a vest and some gold chains, some sunglasses. He's got a little tassel hanging off the side of his fez. He's wore a fez before, back when he was with the Carolina Panthers, but this seems to be like an upgraded version of that outfit. He is just dripping swag. I mean, this is confidence. You remember Jeff Garcia said that quarterbacks can only wear fancy stuff when they're winning. And Cam Newton apparently has taken that advice to heart, and this is what he rocked after the game. Renee Babcock, I got to get your thoughts on this. Weigh in on the Cam Newton fashion choice here.
I want to weigh in first. So you got to think about this game. It's Lamar Jackson, the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, against him. He hasn't been playing great, so he knows that this is a big game. He pulled out his big outfit. I'm just saying, he brought the fez with the graduation tassels coming out the back. I mean, he had the chains, he had the bracelets, he had the watch. He had a whole look together, and I'm glad that he won because apparently now he's allowed to wear that afterwards. So good for him. I mean, if you're going to walk the walk, you know he's going to talk the talk and look the look, but he walked the walk today, so there should be no problem with his fez.
Yeah, like I'm actually coming around to what Jeff Garcia said. Like, I know I shouldn't tell anybody what to wear, but it sits with you a whole lot better after they just get this big win and they beat the Ravens. The Patriots needed to win that game. And like, go ahead, do you, Cam. You led your team to a win and wear your crazy hat. Like,
I can't wait to see if this is the beginning of the Cam Newton. If I get a W, I'm going to stunt. Like, I can't wait to see what he's got for next year.
It's going to make me root for the Patriots every week because I just want to see what crazy outfit that Cam can bring out.
James Harden, who has reportedly turned down an offer from the Houston Rockets, a 2-year extension worth $100 million. He would be the first player to make $50 million a year in NBA history. No other player has ever done that. And apparently he has said, no, I don't want that. I want out of Houston, leaving many people wondering why, how? Like, how could you turn down a historic amount of money like that? We did the math. That's like $136,000 a day. That is so much money. How could you turn that down? There were rumblings that he wants to go to Brooklyn, that he wants to play with the Brooklyn Nets, and that's why he wants out. But now there has been some more reporting. NBA insider Rick Bucher says the move is not about money. It's about disassociating himself with Houston Rockets owner Tillman Fertitta, who also happens to be a huge supporter of President Donald Trump. Apparently, James Harden and other players on the Houston Rockets feel very strongly about their dislike for Fertitta's support of Trump. Also, I think there's some connection because Tillman Fertitta is obviously related to the Fertitta brothers, who were co-owners of the UFC, and you have UFC owner Dana White, who's best friends with Donald Trump. Those guys are tight. There's a lot of connections between Tillman Fertitta and the president, but apparently James Harden and others on the Rockets don't like it, and that is why Harden wants out. Here is Rick Bucher explaining the situation on the Odd Couple podcast.
What I hear is that, and we know how much politics and political position had to do with the boycott and the protests during the bubble. I'm hearing that Tillman Fertitta's strong Republican support and donations is one of the things that's contributing to this dissatisfaction. There's a revolt here because they look at Fertitta as a guy who supports the current president.
So that's what Rick Bucher is saying, that it is Harden's desire to leave Houston is more politically motivated than competitively motivated. And, you know, before we get into the situation, because I know, Renee, you have experience playing for a WNBA owner who you do not see eye to eye with politically, and I want to get into that in a second. But first, I kind of want to hear your reactions to James Harden turning down $50 million. I can't imagine turning down $50 million to do anything.
When I Listen, when I read it on the internet, I had to start like fact checking myself. I'm like, no, somebody's just tweeting. Like I'm thinking that it's just a fake tweet. And the more I dive into it, I'm like, he really turned down 50 million to be the first player to ever get that marker, 50 million in 1 year. So, and I say that because a lot of times players like to be the first, it wants to be the first player, and especially when it comes to money. So just hearing he turned it down, I'm like, what is going on? It was a way to start out free agency for sure with a bang.
Yeah, it certainly was. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace to persecute somebody, anybody. Doesn't matter if they're a regular, average Joe or somebody who's a billionaire like Tillman Fertitta, to persecute them because they support the man who was rightfully elected as the president of the United States is absolutely absurd. The president who just got over 73 million votes in an election. It's absolutely absurd. It's hypocritical. It's downright stupid. And please, nobody misunderstand me here. The fact that James Harden went out and said, we love China, who is persecuting how many Muslims, Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps, and he is now forcing a trade out of Houston because he doesn't like the president who, again, was rightfully elected. It's absurd. It's a threat to our democracy, and it is flat out stupid.
Renee, you played for the Atlanta Dream. One of the owners of the Atlanta Dream is Kelly Loeffler, who is a Republican politician who supports Donald Trump. And, you guys have been very respectful of each other, but it made it clear that you guys don't see eye to eye politically on a lot of things. You have experience playing in an organization with somebody that you just don't see eye to eye with politically. How did you handle that? And what advice could you give to somebody like James Harden? And what's your reaction when you hear the opinion of somebody like Mike Babcock, who feels very strongly against what James Harden is reportedly trying to do?
Well, like this year is really the first year where Senator Kelly Loeffler came out and basically just put her beliefs out there. Like last year, we didn't know how strongly she felt about supporting a movement. We didn't know those things. So this year, I would say the players, I could just speak for the players, they struggled with it. Some players did not want to play. Some players didn't want to wear the team jersey. Some players wanted to do what the Clippers did, throw the stuff at half court. Like there was a lot of discussion about that. And there's a lot of owners that feel the same way as the Houston owner, as the Atlanta Dream owner. This is a common thing in sports. What it's not, I just don't think it's ridiculous. Like I disagree with Babcock like wholeheartedly. I think that for the longest time, players have known where their owners stand. They have known what they stand for. They have known that they don't align with their beliefs, and it's just been a part of sports. It's been, the owners, that's just the owners. But here in the team, we're the coaches and focus on the sports. Yeah, no, I think the players have a right to choose wherever they want to go. And if they want to say, look, if you love the Donald Trump and he doesn't love Donald Trump, then he's out. Like, I don't see nothing wrong with it. He said, keep your money. What can you be mad about for a guy that says keep your money?
America's supposed to be a tolerant place. You're not supposed. Why even have this country then? Let's just split apart and then everyone can go their separate ways and everyone can just.
But why do we have to split apart? He can make a decision based on his belief. He's in the driver's seat.
Because James Harden is not being respective of Tillman Fertitta's right to like whatever politician that he likes. He's saying, I'm not going to play for you.
James Harden doesn't have to be respectful to like whatever let him like whatever he likes. If you don't like what I like, I'm out. Keep your money. I don't want it. Like, this is actually a real reason for a player to want to leave. So I'm always here for athletes taking the driver's seat because it hasn't happened in sports before.
It's not tolerant. Politics has nothing to do with basketball. Tillman Fertitta is the owner of the basketball team. That's it. Look, James Harden, he has the right to do whatever he wants to. He doesn't have to sign or play anywhere. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is this is very hypocritical, and I think I've pointed that out in a satisfactory way. And again, I stand by what I said. If we can't work with or talk to people who have different political beliefs than us, then again, let's just all go our separate ways.
Listen, I'm sure he can talk to him. He can talk to him. He's just saying, I don't want to work for you and I don't want to make money for someone that's going to take that money and give it to something that I don't want it to be. It's pretty simple. I see it's pretty cut and dry. Look, I don't want to make you a lot of money and then in turn you do things with the money I don't want you to do with it. I mean,
Tillman Fertitta is paying him $50 million too. So James Harden is doing pretty well.
Offered him $50 million.
offered him $50 million, and he told him to take that money, keep it moving.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Mike Babcock in the house with Renee Montgomery. What's up, Renee?
What's up, Babcock?
So, Renee, we have been talking about a lot of knockouts lately, and this one might be the best. It's probably the most violent, I'll say that. And when I tell you this guy's name, you'll say, oh, that kind of fits. I am talking about UFC fighter KHAOS Williams, who over the weekend fought in a big UFC fight in Las Vegas, and it only took him 30 seconds to knock out another fighter, a guy named Abdul Razak Al-Hazan. And I can't properly describe this knockout. Let's just watch it and just look at the level of violence in this punch.
You look at those thighs, my word. Wow! KHAOS Williams bringing the chaos once again.
So maybe not the most flashy, there was no spinning sidekick to the head. It was just violent, Renee, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. Like, you're right though. We've been seeing a lot of knockouts and like, what is going on? I don't know if it's like, are people getting better at the knockout or are they just like unmatched opponents? I don't know what's going on, but any knockout to me, it just like makes me like, woo, that's not the sport for me. Yeah. I'm glad I chose basketball because we're talking about this one like, oh, it's not as good as the flying back kick and the uppercut from Gervonta. And I'm like, what? I don't want no parts of none of this.
I know. Here's how you know it was a really impressive knockout, because UFC president Dana White, who has seen probably every knockout that's happened in the UFC. This guy's a huge combat sports fan. Listen to what Dana White had to say about KHAOS' knockout.
That is one of the most vicious knockouts that you will ever see in your entire life. I knew this fight was going to be crazy.
So there it is. That's the man who has seen thousands of knockouts in his life, the most vicious that you will see. Now,
and yes, to your point, Babcock, I think his name is right on par. Yeah, like that's one of those are like the names that make me jealous though. Like the basketball player Swin Cash. Like, come on, man. How you get that name when you're playing basketball? So yeah.
At least you have a normal name. Imagine if your last name was Babcock. And now imagine going to high school like that. But anyway, so I actually had the opportunity to talk to KHAOS, and look, he talked to me about growing up in Lansing, Michigan, and what he said was a really rough neighborhood. And there were times that he wanted to quit. Listen to the reason and who inspired him, why he kept on training, and now has become a UFC star.
I've been listening to Meek Mill since he was making Flamers, man. Back when I was in high school, his first mixtape that I remember, and I was putting people on him, like, same with Drake in 2008. Yeah. I listened to Drake when he made that Sky High, like before he even blew up. Those that inspired me. I've been listening to him forever, man. I mean, like, forever. And all my fights, like every morning I wake up before my fight, I start my day off listening to Jay-Z. Hey, man, y'all just inspired me, man. Like, y'all music, it got me through some dark times, and it gave me some inspiration, when I didn't have the inspiration.
Listen, I know firsthand that music inspires people. Just even me growing up in the church, anybody, if they've heard gospel or whatnot, but now, sorry, but my shameless plug, my fiance, the music she makes, it's inspiring, it's an emotion. And anytime any athlete knows when you are dead tired and you're in a workout and your favorite song comes on, anybody that's working out in the gym knows you get that fire playlist. Yeah, that's motivation. You're like on the treadmill, like running to the beat. So yeah, I can believe that 100%.
The mystery buyer who purchased Carson Palmer's $18 million Del Mar mansion has been revealed, and surprise, it's a rich guy. It's a very successful rich guy. If you didn't know, Carson Palmer built a mansion in Del Mar in the San Diego area in 2015. He built it from scratch, 6,500 square feet. He hired a designer and they made the whole thing to his liking. It was like his dream home. And this thing is unfreaking believable. We're talking 6 bedrooms, 8 baths. It's got amazing views of the ocean, outdoor kitchen, infinity pool, spa, rooftop deck. It's even got a bocce ball court.
I love bocce ball.
Yeah, who doesn't like bocce ball? It's got a 10-car garage. Everything is like state-of-the-art technology-wise, with like controlled by handheld devices. I mean, this place is unbelievable. It's a beautiful place, and he sold it earlier this year for $18 million, but nobody knew who the buyer was. Well, now that person has been revealed, and Babcock, why don't you tell everybody what it takes, what kind of a career you need to be into to buy an $18 million home?
You have to have had an amazing career where you have made an immense amount of money. And that's exactly the guy who kind of bought Carson's place. His name is Bill Maris, Evan. So he is a venture capitalist. So he basically has a whole bunch of money, and then he would go around and invest in different technologies, in different companies. Actually ran something called Google Ventures, which is a subsidiary of Google. All you need to know is this guy has made a ton of money in his career, and that's why he was able to buy this amazing place.
Yeah, he's based out of San Diego, and apparently he decided that's where he wants to stay, and he was looking for a place that would kind of fit his personality. And when he saw this brand new state-of-the-art place that Carson Palmer had built, look, Carson Palmer took his family and moved to Idaho a couple of years ago. I don't know if you know this story, but Carson Palmer has decided, you know what? I'm over the grind of living in a big city, even though Del Mar, it's not exactly Los Angeles or New York. It's more easygoing, but still too busy for the Palmer family. So they went up and they fish and hunt and hang out in Idaho now. And Bill Maris was like, I'm going to slide in because this home is perfect for me. Renee, why aren't you in this place?
Listen, because listen, when you say the word Google, y'all didn't need to explain anything else after that. If you say, oh, he used to work for Google and do something for Google in upper management, yeah, he's got the money for it. The first thing I think about with Carson Palmer is, imagine like building your dream home and it's perfect, and then leaving it and then someone else investing in it. I always just think about that. Like, that's like your vision that somebody loves. So that had to be good for him. But kudos to him for going to Idaho with the potatoes and doing nothing. Like, hey.
I didn't know Carson Palmer was a big real estate guy. Do you know that Carson Palmer in his 15-year NFL career made more than $174 million in NFL contract money alone? That doesn't even count the endorsement offers and other things, other ways that he made money. So he's doing just fine. He played college ball at USC, won the Heisman Trophy there. So he's got Southern California roots. And because he made so much money during his NFL career, and assuming he made money on this house, which I bet he did, if he ever wants to come back and visit Southern California, he has the money to do that too. Welcome back to the show. My name is Evan, along with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up?
Two-time WNBA champion Renee Montgomery.
Hello there.
And important to note, how many years did you play in the WNBA?
11.
So you've been a professional 11 years. You are well-versed in WNBA contracts. You know the business of basketball better than most people, correct?
Definitely.
All right. So you're the perfect person to have for this segment because KLAY Thompson suffered an injury this week. Everyone's been talking about it. Golden State Warriors superstar tore his right Achilles playing in a pickup basketball game with some other NBA players in Los Angeles on Wednesday. On Thursday, he underwent tests and they confirmed it was a torn Achilles, an injury that is going to require usually 9 to 12 months of rehabilitation. Kobe Bryant suffered the same injury back in the day, and because he was a freak of nature, he recovered in just 8 months.
Right.
That's Kobe Bryant's an alien, man. I mean, he's a person.
Nobody's like Kobe, yeah.
Yeah, so realistically, it's probably going to take him at least 9 months to recover from this. The big question is, because he was playing in a pickup basketball game that presumably wasn't authorized by the Golden State Warriors, could the Warriors get out of paying him the $35 million they were due to pay him this year? And the reason I'm asking this question is because, everybody signs contracts when you're a professional athlete saying that you're not going to engage in activities that could possibly cause you harm. Obviously, things like skydiving and racing jet skis and going on ATVs and stuff like that. Yeah. But does playing in a pickup basketball game count? Because if he was out there playing and hurt his Achilles to the point where he's going to miss an entire year, I'm sure the Golden State Warriors aren't very happy about cutting him a $35 million check for something if they can figure out a way to not pay him a $35 million check. Renee, you've been a professional for 11 years. What's your experience with this? And I know that Babcock, after you give your take on this, Babcock, you've been speaking with different NBA agents and executives about this, so I'm curious to hear your take too. But Renee, why don't you start this off and tell me, is KLAY going to get paid?
Yeah, I think KLAY's going to get paid. Even his circumstances surrounding it. So the Golden State Warriors, they drafted him. They were he was one of the talents that they developed. And I say that to say that teams are proud of that. Teams get attached to that. They get attached to the player, to the story, they picked a guy that no one necessarily saw the talent that they saw, and then he became a megastar. He became a splash brother, as we all know it. So just knowing his story, definitely I think he's going to get paid. But even not with that story, I think he would still get paid. Usually sport like basketball, if I'm playing basketball overseas, per se, for instance, for the WNBA, and I get hurt overseas, my team and my WNBA team still rehabs with me, still has me under contract. They still take care of it.
But in theory, Renee, if you go overseas and play, you're doing it with the blessing of your WNBA team, right? So they approve of the activity.
I mean, they approve kind of, but even the WNBA now, they're making rules against going overseas. So they almost have to approve by default because we're going anyway. So I would say, no, they actually don't prefer it, to the point to now in our new CBA, there's things in place that don't make it as easy to go overseas.
Like you said, Ev, I talked to a couple agents, and we talked to somebody, I'm not going to say the teams because you'll be able to figure out who it is, but somebody who was a GM, 2 different NBA franchises and has signed NBA stars before. He said that there is oftentimes a prohibitive activities clause in a contract, but he says a lot of players, a lot of agents will actually have that clause taken out. Now, if that clause happens to be in Klay's contract, probably would dictate him not being able to play pickup basketball. But again, I was told this is a clause that is often taken out of contracts. Furthermore, the GM said if the team was to try and get out of paying Klay, that would sit terribly with other NBA agents and players across the league, and those guys would then not be apt to sign with the Warriors going forward. So it might actually put the Warriors in a worse position. One last point, also mentioned with contracts like this, when you have what is a catastrophic, a season-ending injury, a lot of times there will be insurance that could pick up something like 80% of that $30+ million. So the Warriors would likely not have to pay that whole amount. They would have to pay something that was much less than the 30 mil.
So it sounds like the takeaway is there's a real possibility that the Warriors could have a case to not pay him if they didn't want to. But even if they have a case to try and get out from that payment, they're probably going to opt to pay him anyway because he still has several years left on his contract, and they believe that Klay is a high-performing player, and they don't want to scare off any other high-profile signees. And if
and do they really want to make an enemy out of a guy who won 3 championships for the team? I think
that's what I was going to say. And it just doesn't happen. Like, I've seen players get hurt all the time, and it just that never happens where teams don't pay them, because who would play for that team? Like, I wouldn't want to run the risk of playing for a team that might pull my contract for working out.
So let's just break this down, though. So he missed the 2020 season because he suffered a torn ACL in his left leg in the 2019 finals, and he's going to miss the 2021 season because of this Achilles. So he missed 2 seasons, not a minute of basketball, and he's still going to walk away with roughly $70 million in the bank.